Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into something big, something that's going to reshape money, advice, well, everything, for years to come. It's about generations and, frankly, a mind-boggling amount of money.
That's right. We're talking about the great wealth transfer. It's this huge shift. And, understanding it means looking at who has the wealth now and who's next in line.
And guiding us through this is the CapGemini World Wealth Report for 2025. We've got the report here. It's packed with data, survey results, basically crucial insights into what feels like a real turning point for wealth management.
Yeah, our job really is to unpack it together, find those key nuggets, and figure out what this massive generational handover actually means. For markets, sure, but also for how wealth is managed and, the people doing the managing.
Because the report itself says, look, there are economic shifts happening, yes, but the big driver, the thing really forcing a change, is this generational wealth transfer.
Exactly. And before we jump right into the transfer itself, maybe we should set the scene a bit. The report looks back at 2024, how high net worth individuals, HNWIs, people with over $1 million in investable assets, how they did last year.
Okay, yeah, good idea. So what was the picture globally for HNWIs in 2024?
Lay of the land. Well, overall, it was a recovery year. Definitely growth after that dip in 2022. Globally, HNWI wealth went up 4.2%.
Okay.
And the actual number of HNWIs, that population grew by 2.6%. So upward trends.
Positive movement. But was that growth the same everywhere? Or were there big differences?
Oh, huge differences. It was really varied. North America really led the way. Strong growth there. Wealth up nearly 9%, 8.9% to be exact.
Wow.
And their HNWI population jumped 7.3%. Asia Pacific also did pretty well. Wealth up 4.8%, population 2.7%.
And what about places like Europe?
Much quieter. Europe and the UK, wealth grew, but only just 0.7%. And interestingly, the number of HNWIs there actually went down.
Really?
Yeah, by 2.1%. Latin America saw drops in both wealth and population. Middle East and Africa had some modest wealth growth, but kind of the mixed results on population changes. So, yeah, 2024 really saw North America pulling ahead.
That difference is pretty stark, isn't it? Now, the report also mentions how wealth was concentrated within that HNWI group in 2024. Something changed from 2023.
Yes, that's a really key point. In 2023, the growth was sort of more spread out. The millionaires next door, those folks with 1 to 5 million, they grew fastest. But 2024, the report says wealth really concentrated right at the top.
Meaning
the ultra HNWIs, those with 30 million or more, they saw the biggest jump. Their wealth grew 6.3% and their numbers grew 6.2%.
Okay.
Meanwhile, those millionaires next door, they had the lowest growth, just 2.6% in wealth, 2.4% in population.
So the very richest got richer faster, percentage-wise. Given that, how are HNWIs actually investing their money? As of, say, early 2025, big shifts in allocation.
Overall, it looked pretty stable compared to the year before. Still balancing safety and growth. Cash holdings came down a bit, but still a big chunk, 26%.
Okay.
Real estate held steady at 19%.
So where did things change?
Well, fixed income, bonds and the like, that allocation dropped a couple of points, down to 18%. Probably because returns weren't looking as good compared to other things.
Makes sense. Equities, stocks.
Equity saw a little bump up. 1 percentage point hitting 22%.
Yeah.
And the report points to, yes, strong markets generally, but specifically, a lot of enthusiasm around AI and tech stocks. That was a big driver, especially in the U.S.
Right, the AI hype factor, you can't miss it. Yeah. What about alternatives? Still steady at 15%.
Yeah, 15% overall. But, don't let steady fool you. It's a really important area for HNWIs, looking for growth outside the usual places. And when you peek inside that 15%, it's interesting. Private equity. That's 16% of the alternative slice.
Okay.
And right next to it, cryptocurrencies, making up 15% of that alternatives bucket.
Hold on. Crypto is 15% of the alternatives for HNWIs. That feels like a pretty significant piece of that pie.
It really is. And the report gives a few reasons. Obviously, the hunt for growth, but also regulatory things are shifting. Like LTIF 2.0 in Europe, making private equity easier to get into.
Right.
Technology is making PE more accessible too. And for crypto, well, you had the U.S. approving those spot Bitcoin ETFs, plus, buzz around potential rule changes after the U.S. election, all feeding into the interest.
Fascinating. So HNWIs are clearly chasing growth. leaning into tech stocks, embracing alternatives like PE, and surprisingly perhaps crypto. That sets the stage. Now, you said the report calls this next part the main event.
Right. The great wealth transfer. This isn't just, another market cycle. It's demographics. It's huge. And it's going to change everything.
And the number they put on it is just massive. USD 83.5 trillion, expected to transfer by 2048.
Trillion with a T. And who's getting it? Mostly Gen X, Millennials, and Gen Z. The report lumps them together as next-gen HNWIs. And get this, 95% of that 83.5 trillion is going to them.
Wow. 95%. Can we just clarify the ages? How does CapGemini define those generations right now in 2025?
Sure. So Gen X, they're roughly 44 to 59. Millennials, 28 to 43. And Gen Z, they're the youngest, 12 to 27 right now.
Okay, so next gen here covers a huge range, late 40s all the way down to kids, essentially.
It does. And critically, this isn't something happening way off in the future. The survey data is pretty clear. 30% of HNWIs expect to inherit by 2030.
That's only 5 years away.
Exactly. 63% expected by 2035 and 84% by 2040. The message from the report is loud and clear. Wealth firms need to get ready. Like yesterday.
Is this $83.5 trillion transfer happening evenly around the world?
No, not really. The Americas are expected to see the biggest chunk, about 61% of the total.
Wow, over half.
Yeah. Then EMEA, that's Europe, Middle East, Africa, about 25%, and Asia Pacific around 14%.
That concentration in the Americas is huge. And the report also flags something else crucial, right? The role of women.
Yes, absolutely critical point. Women are projected to inherit around $47 trillion by 2048. That's just over 56% of the whole transfer.
56% going to women.
Right. Female spouses, younger women. It makes women an incredibly important group for firms to understand and serve well. Growing importance.
Okay. Massive transfer, happening soon, mainly to younger generations, women inheriting a majority share. Now, the crucial question for wealth managers: why is this such a big deal, beyond just the scale of the money moving?
Because, and this is the number that really jumps out, 81% of those next-gen HNWIs say they plan to switch, to leave their parents' wealth management firm.
81%.
Within 1 or 2 years of inheriting.
Wow. That's not churn, that's an exodus. Most inheritors are planning to walk out the door.
Precisely. And the report tells us why. What are the reasons?
Mm-hmm.
Number one, cited by 46%, is a lack of services on their preferred digital channels.
The digital experience gap, we hear about it all the time.
It's right there. Number one reason. After that, 33% say their parents' firm doesn't offer the alternative investments they want. Remember that 15% allocation?
Yeah.
Well, the next gen are looking for PE, crypto, other things, and apparently not finding them easily. And then 25% say the firm doesn't offer enough value-added services, stuff beyond just managing the money.
So digital alternatives and extra services, that's the checklist for firms, isn't it? Fix those or risk losing the next generation. Let's dig into that more. What do these next-gen HNWIs expect?
Right. The report contrasts them, the 12 to 59-year-olds in this analysis, with baby boomers, who are 60 plus. Boomers are often about preserving wealth. But the next gen, generally more risk-tolerant, looking for growth.
And the report breaks down their expectations into, 4 main areas?
Yeah, 4 key things. First, product mix. They want attractive portfolios, sure, but also niche stuff. We already talked alternatives, PE, crypto. They're big on those. But also passion investments.
Passion investments,
Yeah.
like art, collectibles.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Art, classic cars, luxury watches, wine. The report says 50% of next-gen HNWIs invest in these. Not just for fun, but potentially for returns and, interestingly, as assets to pass on themselves.
So it's partly an investment strategy linked to their own future wealth transfer plans.
That's how the report frames it, yeah. Connecting luxury purchases to inheritance planning.
Mm-hmm.
And RMs, the relationship managers, they see it too. 88% of RMs say next-gen clients are way more interested in alternatives, including these passion assets, than boomers are.
Okay, broader view of investing, hunger for alternatives. What's the second expectation area?
Geography. They want enhanced offshore investing options. These clients often think globally, maybe work globally. They want access to different markets, different opportunities. Traditional hubs matter, London, Switzerland, New York, but emerging hubs are really gaining traction.
Which ones are popping up?
Report mentions Singapore, Hong Kong, the UAE, Saudi Arabia. Why? Things like tax rules, growing financial centers, stability. They're attractive. HNWIs are taking a more multi-jurisdictional approach now.
Are the wealth firms keeping up, moving into these new hubs?
Some are. The report gives examples: Barclays in Singapore, Kings Rock's Alliance for Latin America, BTG, Paxwell buying Greytown, Rothschild in Dubai, but there seems to be a gap.
A gap.
Yeah, half the RMs surveyed think their firm's lack of capability in these emerging spots will cause clients to leave. Yet only about a quarter, 26% of firms say focusing there is a priority in the next year.
That's a big disconnect. RMs see the need, firms aren't prioritizing it fast enough. Okay, what's expectation number 3?
Auxiliary services, basically tailored value-added services. Investment management is top priority, financially speaking. But number 2, estate planning.
Okay.
And they're interested in modern takes, digital estate planning, how do you handle crypto keys, digital assets, using offshore trusts for tax reasons. The report mentions things like asset passes, digital inheritance as a service, DIAS assets, and specialized teams at places like Citi and JP Morgan.
Beyond the financial planning side, what about non-financial services?
Concierge services. That's the top non-financial request. But it's not just booking travel anymore.
Right.
The report highlights demand for coordinating medical care, advice on educating the next generation, even cybersecurity services.
Wow, cybersecurity is part of the wealth manager's offering. That shows how broad the expectation is.
It really does. It's about firms building these ecosystems, partnering up, like HSBC with 10 Lifestyle Group for high-end concierge, Goldman Sachs working with security firms like BlackRock, Morgan Stanley offering lifestyle advisory.
Okay, got it. Product mix, global reach, wide-ranging services. What's the 4th piece? How do they want to interact?
Channel links. This is huge. Advanced digital capabilities are basically table stakes. They're digital natives. They expect a smooth, integrated experience everywhere. Website, app, video calls, the data shows their top preferences.
Oh.
Website interactions and video calls with their RM.
Video calls preferred over just phoning, or even meeting face-to-face sometimes. Definite generational shift there.
Massive contrast with baby boomers. 78% of boomers still prefer face-to-face. But for firms, here's the problem. 56% of RMs say their own firms don't have the seamless omni-channel or self-service platforms needed.
Ouch. So firms aren't delivering the digital experience the next gen demands, which loops right back to why 46% of them plan to switch firms,
Right.
which brings us neatly to the role of the RM, the relationship manager.
Yes, the RM, absolutely critical. Even with all this digital demand, that human relationship with the RM, it's still a key reason next-gen HNWIs choose a firm and, importantly, stay with a firm.
But you said earlier they're not always happy with their current RMs.
That's right. The survey found 1 in 2 next-gen HNWIs face challenges with their RM. Things like reporting isn't good enough, updates are too slow, the device doesn't feel personalized.
What do they want instead?
They want the whole picture, an aggregated view of all their wealth. They want proactive insights, using their data, tailored ideas, and easy, seamless digital communication with their RM.
So the human touch is vital, but the expectations around it are higher and much more digital.
Exactly. And it really shapes their choices. 2/3 of next-gen HNWIs say the quality of a firm's RMs is a key factor when they pick a provider.
And loyalty. Do they stick with the firm or the person?
This is where firms really need to pay attention. 62% of next-gen HNWIs say they'd follow their RM if that RM moved to a different firm.
62%. That's huge leverage for the RMs.
It makes keeping good RMs absolutely vital for firms trying to hold on to assets and relationships through this transfer. Huge retention issue.
Okay, so RMs are key, but clients aren't always happy, and RMs themselves hold a lot of sway. What are the challenges RMs are facing? What might make them leave or make clients unhappy?
Well, the report paints a picture of RMs not having the right tools. Many are still, bogged down with manual stuff. Onboarding clients, handling paperwork. Almost half, 47%, aren't happy with their firm's digital tools. A third say the digital channels are just poor quality.
So they're asked to deliver a great digital experience, but they don't have the tools themselves.
Pretty much. And many firms aren't giving them the advanced stuff, like AI-driven insights about clients. Only about half of firms provide that. Real-time tracking tools, missing in about a third of firms. And it's not just tech. RMs also mentioned dissatisfaction with pay 29% and lack of career progression 32%.
This sounds less like just a client retention problem and more like a looming talent crisis for the firms.
It absolutely is. You got an aging workforce. 20% of current RMs are expected to retire by 2035. Almost half, 48% by 2040.
Wow.
Combine that with the fact that 1 in 4 RMs say they might move firms in the next year because of these frustrations.
But yeah.
Firms risk losing experienced people and taking AUM and client relationships with them. Big risk.
Okay, so the RM role is changing fast. From just advice to being this orchestrator, needing tech and data skills, managing broader services, but they lack tools, support, feel undervalued, leading to unhappy clients and RMs leaving. What's the solution? What does CapGemini suggest?
This leads to their three-part strategy recommendation. Boost growth, delight the next-gen clients, and the crucial third part, empower the RMs.
Empower the RMs.
Right. The report basically says you can't really do the first two effectively if you don't do the third. Supporting RMs is fundamental.
How? What does that empowerment look like?
They suggest a whole framework focused on keeping and developing RMs. It covers assessing skills, better hiring and succession planning, making sure RMs are ready for new tech, training, building the right culture, and tracking performance against these new needs.
And is there one key thing that enables all that?
Yes. An integrated digital platform for the RMs. That's seen as the core enabler. And the report details what it needs to do. First, improve operational efficiency. Automate the routine stuff, onboarding, KYC, meeting notes, emails. Use AI to help workflows, maybe even AI assistance. The idea is free up RM time.
Let them focus on clients, not admin. Makes sense.
Exactly. Second, provide actionable insights. Give RMs that 360-degree client view on customizable dashboards. Use AI, use analytics to generate real insights, client profiles, predicting needs, suggesting the next best action, automating reports. Think like how Betterment uses AI for personalization.
Turning data into actual advice prompts for the RM.
Right. Third, help deliver personalized products. The platform needs tools that help the RM find and recommend the right products, the right services, based on that client's specific data and goals. Morgan Stanley's integrated approach gets mentioned, though the report is careful to say, for really complex stuff, deep tax advice, nuanced ESG, you still need that human expertise.
So augmenting the human, not replacing them for the tricky part.
Precisely. And fourth, enable seamless interactions. The platform has to support that omni-channel communication we talked about. Let RMs connect easily across channels. Maybe even use AI assistance chatbots or real-time support during calls to help the RM and connect clients to specialists. UBS's tools with Microsoft Azure AI, like digital meetings, get cited as examples.
Having an AI whispering in your ear during a client call with relevant info. Yeah, that sounds like a potential game changer.
It definitely points towards the future RM role. So the core message, summed up in one of their charts, is basically reimagine capabilities plus empowered RMs will loyal next-gen clients.
Okay.
That means tailored investments, smooth service delivery, a unified experience, all backed by diverse advisory teams and this powerful, integrated AI-leveraged RM platform.
So wrapping it up, the way forward is complex, isn't it? Firms have to change their offerings, go digital, embrace alternatives, offer more services for these next-gen clients. But just as importantly, maybe more importantly, they have to equip their own people, their RMs, with the tech and support to actually deliver that modern experience and build loyalty differently, balancing human connection with digital smarts.
That's really the heart of it, this huge wealth transfer. It's happening now, it's accelerating. The next-gen inheritors know what they want, and they've shown they're ready to walk if they don't get it. Firms need to bridge those gaps, digital service alternatives, and empower their RMs to be these client-focused orchestrators the new era requires.
Yeah, it's a fundamental shift in how wealth is viewed, how it's managed.
Absolutely.
And maybe something for you, the listener, to think about. As this incredible amount of wealth moves across generations in the next decade or two, how does that change things beyond just who has the money? How does it fundamentally alter how it's managed? The investments people want, how they expect service, the very nature of trust between a client and an advisor, especially when AI gets more involved. What does that next generation wealth manager even look like? Lots to consider there.